The final conclusions about creatine usage. What can be said as a final conclusion? It can be said that the creatine phosphate, CRP as a chemical sign, serves as an available source of energy concerning muscles and other tissues of our body. For most exercise situations, the demand for adenosine triphosphate, so-called ATP, is in a major part provided through aerobic energy production. When this cannot meet the demand for ATP, anaerobic energy production from creatine hydrolysis and glycolysis is required to assist the provision of ATP. Such cases include the transition from rest to exercise, the transition from one power output to a higher power output. During a high-intensity exercise, the relative importance of creatine hydrolysis to ATP synthesis falls off as the exercise duration is increased beyond a few seconds. The greatest improvements in performance following short-term creatine supplementation, which means between 5 and 7 days of less than 20 grams of creatine per day, are found during a series of repetitive, high power output exercises. Exercise performance during many sets, for example, third, fourth, and fifth, can be increased by 5 to 20% in very high power output exercise that can be maintained for only a short, counted in seconds, period, for example power jumping, and are separated by fairly brief periods of rest, for example 20 to 60 seconds. Therefore, it is likely that creatine supplementation improves exercise performance in sport events which require explosive, high energy output activities, especially of a repeated nature. Creatine ingestion increases the total creatine content in human muscles by approximately 15 to 20%, but a high individual variability exists also in these cases. Just such increases can be achieved by taking 20 grams per day for 4 to 6 days, but also by intake of 3 grams per day over a period of 1 month. The increased creatine content in human muscle is maintained when the intake is reduced to 2 grams per day after the original loading period, where you take more of creatine. There is a substantial reduction in urine production on the first 3 days of the loading period, and this reduction is coincident with the retention of creatine. A rapid weight gain was experienced by many individuals ingesting creatine. Many studies have reported increases in body mass of 1 to 3 kilos following short-term 5 to 7 days, during which there was a creatine supplementation. Longer-term creatine supplementation, which can be from 4 to 12 weeks, in combination with training, appears to increase muscle mass and strength as a result of an improved ability to perform high-intensity exercises, this through increased CRP, creatine, availability. after deep testing with football players, handball players, and other endurance sportsmen, the studies didn't show an effect of creatine supplementation on measures of endurance capacities. So the final conclusion, as for endurance, was that no relationship has been established between the consumption of creatine and an increase in endurance performance and aerobic capacities. Thank you for listening and have a very nice training.